So I kind of wanted to break down this trade for you guys. So typically what I do is either I trade the break or I trade the bounce. So pretty much whenever it comes to a trade, there's two ways of going about it. I'm a trend line trader, which means that whenever I see a 2 point trend line or a 3 point trend line, whether it be the break, I would take a trade. But there's also a different way to trade this, which is also the bounce from the trend line. And I typically don't trade the bounce. I typically do trade the break just because that's what I'm used to doing. But you can trade the bounce, and this is actually how I did this trade for a good, pretty solid win. So to go over my entry, I have three touch points specifically. There is one, two, and then there's three right here. So this is what I wanted to focus in on. Now with this trade, I had not only the trend line to go off of, I also had this horizontal line right here. And if you notice that it also has a few touch points right there. So you have one, and it kind of reversed on this one, and then it also reversed here too. So I noticed that it was a key level for the market to do something with that. So I was keeping an eye on that. And then once it kind of broke through, I noticed that it was kind of making its way back for reversal, but then it just reversed right back and went up. So once I started noticing it was coming back to this key level here, I already had this support and resistance line made, and I already had this trend line made. So right here, I am really focusing on whether it's going to bounce or if it's going to break. Depending on what it ended up with, either way, I was feeling good to take a trade. The only thing I wasn't sure on is all of this. So this is kind of like a consolidation zone. So I didn't really feel too good about that. So that would have potentially made me miss out on the trade. So then I didn't, take a loss there if I were to have it break. And pretty much you would just like go from here and it would just start going down past the trend line and then just start making its way down. So I was really more looking for the bounce here. And that's what I was looking for with my entry. Now for my exit strategy, I actually had a double-edged sword here where I had two ways of exiting, really three, but I wasn't really focused too much on one of them. And that was specifically the one I wasn't focused on was this red line. If it were to gap on me, sometimes what you can do is you can take the profit at the trend line, the opposite trend line that it takes, or for me right here, it was this next key level of support and resistance. So pretty much how I go about it is that if it gaps on me, kind of like what it did here, then I would look for the previous high, so to speak, or the previous low, depending on, which direction I'm looking at. But here I have this previous high here. So if it gaps on me, I'm looking for specifically this key level right here to potentially exit out on. That way I can captivate on the market if it moves like crazy. But also, I have my safety line set up, which is also my action line on this bounce. And pretty much what that means is that if it bounces or if it comes off of this trend line right here, then ultimately my stop loss, my safety would be right below this trend line. And if it doesn't gap up and it just kind of follows along the trend right here, then what I would just simply do is just keep my stop loss along the trend line. That way I still captivate on profits as it moves along in my direction. If it doesn't and it just kind of goes back as you kind of see right here, then I just would have simply have just kind of had it hit my stop loss right there and I would have gotten out of the trade. So two ways of getting out and confirmation across the board. I have three touch point trend line, which is A plus, and I have a consolidation zone also being broke. So that's also kind of more confirmation for this trade. And from that trade, I made $602. So that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. This is just the breakdown of one trade with many more to come, and just to kind of make a journal of my journey along with trading. So that's all I got for you guys. If you like what you saw here, don't forget to follow and let me know what you guys think on how you would have thought during this process, on how you would have taken this trade or what you were feeling in a trade momentum like this. So let me know. Appreciate you guys.